Speaking tonight is Ms. Tara Denzinger, wife of Floyd County, Indiana police officer Frank Denzinger. End of watch, June the 18th, 2007, the day after Chief Lacey was laid to rest and 5 days after his death. Ms. Tara Denzinger.
Pardon me for just a moment. I always have a picture of Frank that I bring with me when I talk. You guys are much taller than me. On June 13th, my husband Frank Denzinger was in our bathroom readying himself for work that day. He worked the 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift. He was shaving as he did every day. He would go first up and then down, just as his brother-in-law Craig had taught him. I would watch him almost every day and take in how good his shaving cream would smell. Looking back on it, it was almost intoxicating. And was always amazed that he could shave that fast without cutting himself. Our daughter Avery would often stand beside him too and pretend to shave with the bottom of the toothpaste. When he was done, he would have her fill his face and ask her if he smelled good. She always answered yes, and then sometimes would mock him by rubbing her own face and then asking, "Do I smell good, Daddy?" This day I had been watching him, taking in the smell of his shaving cream, when I walked out of the room to get something to drink. I noticed as I walked by the TV that the news was reporting on an officer-involved shooting, and I said, "Oh, Jesus." Knowing there was something different in my voice, Frank walked out of the bathroom, and we learned together that Chief Lacey had been killed. We both thought about his family. Frank asked me to run downstairs to the computer and find out where it was so we could make plans to go. Unfortunately, we didn't think that Frank was going to be able to get off work, and it also happened to be Father's Day weekend. And that was the only holiday this year, or that year now, that he was off. So we decided to stay home, and we said a quiet prayer to ourselves. We thought about his family, and we thought about our own. Just 5 mere days later, the state of Indiana would lose one of its finest officers, and I would lose the only person who ever made me feel completely safe, happy, and unconditionally loved. There are a few similarities between these two events, but one similarity I want to bring attention to is the people who came to serve and help our families in the aftermath of our tragedies. Supporting Heroes is an organization that was built on the premise of aiding those families who have lost loved ones in the emergency services field. What I have learned about Supporting Heroes is this: they have the ability to come into very tense situations and provide guidance to families that they have never met in such a way that those families do not feel they are being pressured, but rather supported. We were guided through the process of losing a loved one. Within a half an hour of being at the hospital, I met my first Supporting Heroes representative, who unfortunately is not with us tonight because she is traveling. Rebecca Grignon had come to sit with me. I cannot describe to you what comfort that can bring to a wife who does not know what to ask, where to go, how to deal with the moment, let alone the next day. I remember being at the hospital with all these people I knew around me, and at one point I looked at Rebecca, and I knew she was the only one in the room that understood what I felt. The true significance of what my heart was going through, how in an instant my life had changed. It was a look, no words, and no words were needed. It meant more than what words could have said. Aside from the physical support, Supporting Heroes had provided me with financial support. I don't have to tell many of you that anyone that works in emergency services does not earn enough money for the job that they do. And I know that there were several times that Frank and I would have to put gas or groceries on our credit card because we didn't have the money to pay for them. We just tried to make it paycheck to paycheck. Immediately following my husband's death, I was given a check by Supporting Heroes. This occurred while still at the hospital. With that one check, I was able to ensure that such things as my mortgage and my utility bills were paid. It was an immediate relief of unbelievable pressure for a woman who had just become a single mother, a widow, and did not have her college degree at the time. Unfortunately, when your loved one is killed in the line of duty, you can be certain that the media will have coverage of the tragedy. I knew this without anyone telling me and remember talking with Frank's family about it briefly at the hospital to ready ourselves. I understand the attention and curiosity, but from my perspective and my family's, it was more important that the coverage not just be about Frank's murder, but rather Frank's life. I don't think it's ever easy to be thrown in the limelight like that, but I can honestly say supporting heroes helped me navigate the media attention in a very positive way. Maybe to some this is not important, but for me it was vital. Frank was the absolute best person I'd ever come to know. And I don't say that because he was my husband, or because he's Avery's father, or because he was killed. I say it because it's the truth. He deserved for people to have other things to remember him by, other than how he died. And the community needed and deserved to know that this was not something that was composed of police brutality, or police negligence, or anything else that we hear so much of in today's world. This was and is a hero who gave his life for our protection. The support I have received from supporting heroes has not ended. I do not mean to imply that my husband did not take care of us. He was a responsible and caring individual, and we are well provided for, a gift from him. But it takes time for those provisions to come into effect. Once the financial side was taken care of, supporting heroes aided me in the security of my home. Most people who have a death in their family are able to grieve quietly. However, like I said previously, when the death you experience is due to being in the line of duty, you know that there will be media attention. Unfortunately, this opens the door for others to take advantage of you. Supporting heroes supplied me with a security system to not only make me feel safe, but to make my residents safe as well. What I hope you take away from my experience with supporting heroes is this. At one of the most difficult, vulnerable, and stressful times in my life, an organization of extremely caring individuals came in and offered at no expense to me to help me financially, provide me with security, and offer friendship in a way only those of us who have lost someone in this way can understand. They don't just do it for police, but for fire and EMS as well. And unfortunately, that means a lot of times they are very busy attending to the needs of grieving families. They are set aside their own lives to help us salvage ours. And in this world today, that is quite a rarity. Yes, the last year has been difficult to say the least. Avery and I appreciate that we've been held up in prayers and in the arms of our community. We are extremely grateful for the aid that was extended to us and will forever hold everyone involved in our recovery in our hearts. We are especially thankful to supporting heroes who walked beside us from the moment we learned Frank would no longer hold us in his arms, but rather in angel's wings. I refuse to let the actions of one individual take any more away from me than it already has. And I shall walk each day knowing I'm a very blessed and lucky woman. To have had the blessing of Frank in my life for the time I had, to have my daughter, my family, the awesome friends, the Floyd County Police Department standing at our side, we are lucky. I challenge each of you tonight to rise to the occasion and help those who need it, but also to remember and look forward to the lives that we live and actually live them. May each of you be kept in good health, strong faith, safekeeping, and love. Thank you.